this is Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to make this flowers and squares, I almost said squirrels, flowers and square bracelet here. So we're using some electroplated glass square beads and some seed beads and pearls. And this is the sunset version. This is the one I will be making with you on the tutorial today. This is the sunrise version, and we are using, of course, the GGC treasure bags, the most recent, which was the Autumn Showcase, Sunrise and Sunset. And I will be showing you exactly what I used in what order for both projects. So regardless of the bag you got, you can go ahead and make this project. Also, if you would like to make this project and you did not get the treasure bag, I do have everything that's in this bracelet on my website. So we will discuss that further in the next segment, but just know that you can make this if you would like. So let's go ahead and look and see what it takes to make these particular bracelets. Let me get you a little closer so you can see how pretty it turns out. And let's go ahead and get started. Okay, for this project today, we are going to be using some of the beads that you can find in your newest treasure bags, Sunrise and Sunset. However, if you would like to make this project, I do have all the beads I will be using on the website, so you can check that out too. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating from the sunset bags, simply because I did my design with the sunrise, and this is what the sunrise looks like. And I will show you the differences in the colors we'll be using, but we'll be using all the same components. So in your sunset and sunrise bags, you have this bag of 7 of these square electroplated glass beads. And we're going to be using the darker one, which came in the sunset. It's more of a rosaline color, and the sunrise is more of a peach color. We'll be using all 7 of these. Then you got in your treasure bags these great big long strands of 3mm pearls. I may have called them 4mm in the past. I may have even written 4mm down, but these are 3 to 3.5mm round. And I have a bunch of these left over, so I will go ahead and put them on the website, so if you want to get some, you can. This one came in the sunrise. This one came in the sunset. So we're going to be using this one on the tutorial today. Now, I know I've already designed with these, but there's so many on these strands, you should have plenty to do this particular project with if you did that project also. Then we are going to add to the treasure bag some 8O seed beads in 2 colors. So I've got a bronze and I've got a rose gold in the Toho line in my 8Os. Then I have a rose gold 11O. These are just my pearls. I just made a little pile of my pearls that I'm going to be using. And then you will need a clasp. Now in the sunset, I used the rose gold 8O seed beads as my main color and the bronze as my accent. I'm going to do it the opposite way in the bracelet. I'm going to use bronze as my main color and the rose gold as my accent color, simply because my pearls are darker, blends in better, makes more of a flower effect if I use something in the same basic tone. That's why I used the rose gold, because I had this color in the sunset. So you will be using the same beads, you'll just reverse the color scheming. Then I'm using a size 12 beading needle. In this project, I used the crystal colored Fireline. I'm going to try it, since I'm going to be using predominantly darker colors, I'm going to try it in the smoke for this one, simply because you can see a crisscross of thread here or there. It's not really obvious, and it's just the way that the stitch is, but I thought maybe it would blend even a little bit better if I used the smoke with the darker colors. So that's what I'm going to do. You can use the crystal if you would like, even with the darker colors. So we are going to go ahead and get started with this project. Okay, to start this project, put about 4 to 5 feet of your 6-pound Fireline onto your needle. Like I said, I'm using smoke color with this project. Then you're going to pick up 4 8/0 seed beads, and I am going to start with my bronze color this time. So I'm going to pick up 4 bronze, and then I'm going to bring it down to the end of the thread here. Then I'm going to come back up through the first 2, and you don't have to leave a long tail, just leave enough to hold on to. Come up through the tail side, the first 2 8/0 seed beads that you put on your needle. Then go ahead and pull, and what should happen is you should be able to pull them together so they lay on top of each other like this, or side by side, whichever way your perspective is. Then we're just going to sew back through. So we're coming out of these 2 on this side, we're going to sew back through and come into the 2 next to the 2 you're coming out of. And then we are going to cross over and go back up the 2 on the side where the tail is, just like this. Pull this tight, and then because we're doing basically a herringbone, we're going to come back through just the 2 top beads to get the thread bridge in between that creates the herringbone. So we're going to go into just 1 bead now. So we're coming out of this side, we're going to go into 1 bead on this side, hold on to your piece and pull the thread through, then cross over and go into the bead next to the one you're coming out of, and you're going to go up into it like this. And you just pull a little thread bridge down between those 4 beads like this. Then we are going to go ahead and put our clasping on. So we're going to pick up 2 11/0 seed beads and an 8/0. So I've got 2 rose gold and an 8/0 bronze, and I'm going to drop this down to my piece. Now you will need to extend your thread during this project also, so I will leave a video that will show you how to do that in the description box beneath the video player, or not leave one, but leave a link. Then go through your clasp. So you've got 2 11/0s, an 8/0, and a clasp, just like this. Then we're just going to go through the 8/0. Just let your clasp drop, go through just the 8/0, hold on to that 8/0 between your thumb and finger, pull your thread through until you can draw that clasp up to the 8/0 seed bead, just like this. Then pick up 2 more 11/0 seed beads and go through both beads on this side. So we're going through both 8/0 seed beads, just like this. And we're going to draw the thread through, and this is what you should have, just like this. Now you're going to pick up 2 more 8/0 seed beads, and you're going to go into the bead next to the one you're coming out of. So we're coming out here. You can see that's where my working thread is. This is where my tail is. I'm going to cross over, go into the one with the tail, and all the beads on this side. So both the 8/0s, the 2 11/0s, the 8/0 on top of them, and through the clasp, just like this. And I'm going to pull until I can draw these 2 8/0 seed beads down on top of the previous seed beads, just like this. Then I'm going to come back down, and I'm just going to come down this time the 8/0, the 2 11/0s, and the first 8/0 here. And I'm going to draw my thread through. I'm going to cross over into the bead right next to where I'm coming out, so it would be the first 8/0 underneath the 11/0s, and then back up those 2 11/0s, up the 8/0, the 2 11/0s, into the 8/0 on top of them, and then I'm going to try to bring my needle behind and through the clasp like this. Now I'm doing it this way so I don't get a bunch of thread passes through the same beads down here. Now I'm going to come back down around, and I'm just going to go through all the beads on this side, because now I have 3 passes of thread through my clasping, which should be pretty good. And I'm just going to move my tail out of the way. And I am going to pick up, okay, I lost my train of thought. Sorry guys. I am going to pick up 1 8/0 seed bead. And this time I'm going to do it in the rose gold color, just like this. And I'm going to come up, coming out of this bead here, I'm going to come up 1 bead next to the one that I'm coming out of. And pull this 8/0 seed bead in the center, just like this. I'm going to cross over again and go into the 8/0 on this side and pull my thread down. Now I've got my tail in there, so let me get it out. And that will draw those beads back together. And I'm just going to do that one more time just because I really want this to be a strong base. This is where my units are starting and I want it to have more security. So I'm going to go through this 8/0 and then down into the 8/0 on the side here. And then I'm going to cross over and go into the 8/0 on this side. So I'm coming out of this one, I'm crossing over, going into this one. And get my tail out of the way because it's going to be in the way. And then I'm just going to come up through this 8/0 seed bead right here. Now, this is what you should have. We're going to cut this tail down just because it's going to drive me absolutely insane if I don't. And it should be secure enough so that you can do that. Now we're going to pick up 2 more 8/0 seed beads, and this time I'm going to pick up 2 of my bronze. I'm going to go into the opposite side of the 8/0 that I'm coming out of and pull these down, just like this. Then I'm going to sew back through that to secure them. So I'm going to go directly up into the 8/0 I just added, pull my thread through, give a little tug, hop over into the next 8/0 here, pull my thread through, and then go back into the 8/0 I started in. Now we need to go back around one more time just to get in position. So we're secure, we're going to go up through this bead here, and we're going to exit the bead next to it. So just go up into this one. Then we're going to pick up one of our pearls. So this is my little 3mm pearl. I'm coming out of this 8/0 seed bead here. I'm going to go up into this one here and just one. And then I'm going to hold on to my piece so I can kind of guide that pearl into place and give a little tug. And this is what I have. Now I'm going to cross over and go down, like from the clasping side down into the 8/0 seed bead right next to the one I'm coming out of. Then I'm going to pick up another one of my pearls. And I'm going to go directly from this 8/0 I'm coming out of into this one here. Now I'm going to sew completely around this little flower I just made just to make sure that it's nice and secure. So I'm going to cross over. I'm going to go into the 8/0 next to the one that I am coming out of. And then I'm going to go up into the 8/0 and the pearl on this side. I'm going to go up into the 8/0 here. So I have to come up from the center where the pearl is, like this. Then I'm going to go down into the 8/0 next to it and the pearl. And then I'm going to go into the 8/0 here. Now I know this seems like a lot of sewing, but this needs to be secure or it's just going to be a sloppy mess. Now what we're going to do is we're coming out of this 8/0 seed bead here, we're going to pick up one of our big squares and we're going to drop it down. Then we are going to pick up 3 8/0 seed beads. You're going to do bronze and then rose gold and then bronze. So whatever your accent color is will be in the center of your 2 main colors. And then you're going to go back into the big bead, the big square, and then into the 8/0 next to the one we started in. So we're just going to go into this one. Now just pull this very gently and slowly because it's kind of unruly at this point, and pull it until the 3 beads on the bottom line up like this. Then we're going to cross over. So we're coming out of the top of this 8-0 here. We're going to go into the top of the 8-0 next to it, and we're going to go back into the big square bead and out the 8-0 here. Pull tight because you want that thread to sink down between the square and the 8-0s. Then we have to secure it. So we're going to go through this 8-0 here. We're going to go down into this 8-0 here, and then into the big glass bead again. Now sometimes you just have to kind of navigate through because the hole isn't right there centered. You have to go over to it. So now I've come through my crystal. I'm going to come up the 8-0 here. Now if you need to, you can move your crystal out of the way and go into just that 8-0, just like this. Now we have to cross over one more time and go through the crystal and the 8-0s one more time. So we're going to cross over, go into the 8-0, go into the crystal, and come out the 8-0 on this side. Just like that. And this is what I have. Now I'm going to go up into this 8-0 seed bead right here. I'm going to pick up 2 of my main colors, so it will be my bronze, and I'm going to go into the opposite side of the 8-0 I'm coming out of. And I'm going to pull these down until they lay like this. And then I'm going to sew back through them because this is not secure enough to try to do our next embellishment. So I'm going to go through one of the 8-0s, and then I'm going to cross over and go down. So go through the 8-0 next to where you're coming out, not just one of them, and then cross over and go into the bead next to it, just like this, down into that bead. Then we're going to pick up a 3mm round pearl, and these pearls are kind of hard to pick up. Then we're going to go from this 8-0 into this 8-0 right here. Just scoop up towards in a diagonal, that way you can navigate around your crystal, and pull this pearl down between the 8-0s. Cross over, and again, if you need to, you can kind of move your little flower over, get up underneath that 8-0 seed bead, just like this. Pull the thread tight, pick up another pearl. Go from this 8-0 seed bead into this 8-0 seed bead and pull your pearl into place. It's funny, these little pearls, some of them really are 4mm and some of them really are 3mm. So, you know, it is what it is, I guess. But now I'm coming out of this bead right here. I'm going to sew around the whole flower to secure it, and then we will make our next unit. So we're going to cross straight over. And don't pull real hard, just don't have any slack when you do this, because you don't want to draw these 2 beads together. You want to keep them parted like that. We just want to put another run of thread through here. If you don't run another thread through all of the beads, your piece will pull apart. So now I've gone through all the beads on this side. I'm going to cross over, go up into the crystal and the pearl on this side. Sometimes you can get them both together. Sometimes you have to do it one at a time. And then into this bead here. And now I am ready to add my next crystal. So I'm going to pick up my crystal. I like to lay the piece down because these crystals are heavy. I'm going to drop this crystal down, and then I am going to pick up a bronze, a rose gold, and a bronze 8-0 seed bead onto my needle. I'm going to go back up through my crystal here and then into the 8-0 seed bead next to the one I'm coming out of, just like this. And I'm going to hold on to all of it. I know my hand's covering it, but I have to do that. And then I am just going to pull this thread until there's no slack here, and these beads are laying on top of each other in a little triangle. Then I'm going to cross over, and I'm going to go into the 8-0 that I started in. So I'm coming out of this one now. We're going to cross over into the one next to it and go back down into the crystal. And if you can get the 8-0, go up through the 8-0. If you cannot, just go through the crystal. Here you need to give a pretty good tug because you want that thread to sink down between the pearl and the seed beads. So now I'm coming out of the crystal. I have to come up into one of these 8-0s here. So I'm going to turn it a little sideways just so I can get up through it. And I will come through this one 8-0 here. And then I will come through the 8-0 on the top, just like this. Then I'm going to pick up 2 bronze 8-0s and go back into the 8-0 on the opposite side, just like this. Then I have to sew through them to secure them. So I'm just going to come up into the bronze 8-0 next to the rose one I'm coming out of. Then I'm going to cross over and go down into this 8-0 here. I'm going to hold on to it just so that I don't pull everything out of whack and pull this down. Then I'm going to pick up one of my pearls and I'm going to go from this 8-0 seed bead into the one right underneath the crystal here. And I'm just going to pull it all down until it lines up and inserts itself in there really nicely. Then I'm going to go into the 8-0 on this side. And I'm going to pick up a pearl. And I'm going to go from this 8-0 to this 8-0. Give a nice tug, and now I'm going to sew around the flower. So I'm going to hop over to the bead next to the one I'm coming out of, and again, as you come through, I'm coming through the pearl also. Make sure you don't pull this thread so tight that you draw these 2 8-0s together. You want them to be laying with their top out. And then, now that I've come through the pearl, I'll come through the 8-0 here, scoop it up, move it away from the crystal a little bit, and then come through the one on this side. And the pearl if I can. If I can't, I'll do it separately. But I seem to be able to, so I'm going to go through these 2. And then back up into the flower. Now that's all there is to this. It's just going to be repetitious till we use all 7 of our squares. Let's do one more and then we'll go to length off camera. I'm going to back off just a little bit now, and I'm coming out of this 8-0 here. I'm going to lay down my piece. I'm going to pick up a crystal. I'm going to bring the crystal down to my piece, and then I'm going to pick up a bronze 8-0, a rose gold 8-0, and a bronze 8-0, just like this. And I'm going to go back into this crystal, and then I'm going to come up through the bead next to the one that I'm coming out of here. I'm going to hold on to it, hold that crystal in place, because if you do not, it's heavy and it's just going to flop all over the place. So hold it like that, and then cross over, go into the bead next to the one that you're coming out of, go back into the crystal, so just like this, and then I'm going to try to come up through this 8-0 too, which I'm not going to make it, so I'm just going to come through the crystal. I'm going to pull that tight, come up through this crystal, or come up through this 8-0 here. Pull all of this very tight. Now, if things seem a little wobbly and not quite secure enough, you can sew up through and through again if you would like, which I'm going to do just to make sure that everything is nice and secure because these beads are heavy. So I'm just going to go through this 8-0 and I'm going to pass through my crystal again. So I'm going to go through this 8-0 on this side and exit the crystal, and I'm going to come up through this 8-0, cross over, come down into this 8-0 right next to the one I'm coming out of, and back through my crystal. Now, if you feel that you don't have to do that every time, then don't. But I feel like the more thread that I can get through there without making my piece look ugly, I'm going to do it. Just because these are big, heavy crystals, and I want them to stay nice and tight up against my flowers. And then I'm going to come up through this 8-0 seed bead here. And I've got to say that this smoke thread, I'm going to turn it to the side so I can get up through it. The smoke thread looks a lot better than the crystal thread because I cannot see my thread at all. So this is very nice. Whereas on this one, I'll get you really close so you can see a thread bridge here. Of course, these spin, so you can turn them around and make sure all of them are turned around so that they look nice. And the side that you originally see, you can turn it like that. The side that you originally sewed through, try to keep it on the same side so that your thread doesn't show. Like this one, it doesn't show on this side, but it does show on this side. So on this, you can't see it at all. So I recommend that. Even if you do the darker beads, the same color scheme I'm doing with the peach puff, I think that would work really well. Okay, so now we're going to come up into this 8-0 on the top here, and we are going to go ahead and pick up 2 8-0 seed beads in the bronze color, go back through. Then we're going to come up through one of these beads, the one right next to where you're coming out of course, cross over, go down into the bead next to it. Pick up one of your pearls and go down into the 8-0 right underneath the one you're coming out of and pull your thread through. Cross over, come up through the 8-0 on that side, pick up another pearl, and then go into the 8-0 right across from where you're coming out. And that's what you're going to continue doing. Pick up a crystal and make your next flower. And we will do that until we've used all 7 of the beads. Now, we are going to be compensating for the length with some herringbone on the end. So when I started, I did 3 units of herringbone and then went into my flower with the 3rd unit. If you need a longer bracelet, maybe you'll want to consider making 4 units and then making your flower from the 4th unit. Or on the other end, you can make more herringbone if you would like. This will come out to be exactly a 7-inch bracelet, I believe. So I'm going to measure it once I find my ruler here and let you know so that you can anticipate when you start your project. So I guess it would help if I measured the correct one, huh? This is actually a 7.5-inch bracelet, but because of the fact that they're big beads and they kind of take up room on your wrist, you'll want to go at least a 1/2 inch bigger than you normally would, because this is fitting me like a 7-inch bracelet, but it's 7.5 inches. So go ahead and make the rest of your units, and we will come back and we will end with our herringbone on the other side. Okay, so now you can see I have secured all 7 of my crystals. I went ahead and made my last little picot here on the very end, just like I would do with every other unit, and then we will begin to make a flower here. So it's all been secured. I'm coming out of the 8/0 seed bead here. I'm going to pick up my 2 bronze 8/0s and I'm going to go into the opposite side. Then I'm going to secure them. Just sew back through them like we've been doing. And then we pick up one of our pearls, and then we're going to go down into the 8/0 on the other side. And then we're going to go up into the 8/0 next to the one we're coming out of. I'm just going to kind of turn this sideways so I can get into it, and then I can turn it back. Pick up my, let me get you closer, pick up my pearl here, and I will go up into the 8/0 on this side, right across from the one I'm coming out of. Then of course I have to cross over and sew all the way around this flower. Come back up into the 8/0 here. Then I'm going to come into the pearl here. I've got my hands all in weird positions here. There we go. And then I'm going to go into this 8/0. So now my flower is secure, just like we've been doing all along. Now we have to make our herringbone on the end. And again, this is where you can adjust the length. You can make it longer on this side, and you can make it longer on this side if you need to. I'm going to make it exactly the same that I made on the opposite side, except for when I add my clasping, I'll put 2 8/0s, and I will show you that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm coming out of the 8/0 here. I'm going to pick up 2 bronze 8/0 seed beads, and I'm coming out of this one. I'm going to go down into the one next to it and pull these down. Then I'm going to cross over and go up 2 8/0s right there. Then I'm going to do one more set, so I'm going to pick up 2 8/0 seed beads. I'm going to come down 1 8/0 right here, pull these down, cross over, and go up 2 on this side, just like that. Now I'm going to put on my clasping, so I'm going to pick up 2 11/0 seed beads, and I don't have my other end of my clasp. Let me grab one of those. Okay, so 2 11/0 seed beads, and then I'm going to pick up 2 8/0s on this side, just to make sure that the width of the herringbone doesn't stop my clasping from working well, plus it gives me just a smidgen more of length. So I'm going to drop those down. So I have 2 11/0s and 2 8/0s. I'm going to go through the clasp. Then I'm going to go into just the 2 8/0s right here. I'm going to hold on to them and pull my clasping down to them, like this. Now I'm going to pick up 2 11/0s, and I'm going to go down into all the beads on this side. So, well, actually I'm just going to go into the 2 8/0s right here. And then I'm going to cross over. So I'm coming out of this one right here. I'm going to cross over, come back up through the one next to it, and the one above it, the 2 11/0s. And make sure you don't miss your 11/0s. I missed my 11/0s twice on my design. I'll show you what it looks like if you do that, because my first design, the one that I first make, is always a little iffy, and then I figure out what I did wrong, and my second one turns out pretty good. So now I'm coming out of the clasp. I'm going to go down into the 2 8/0s, the 2 11/0s on this side, and then 2 8/0s beneath it, and cross over, and I'm going to do that one more time. So you could also just come out of the first set of 8/0s the second round through, so that you don't get as much thread between the same two 8/0s, but that's up to you. Make sure you get through both of those 11/0s, go through the 8/0s, and then go through the clasp. Make sure I got it right this time, yep. And then I'm going to go back down. So now I have several passes of thread through. I came down through this one 8/0 here. I'm going to cross over and go into this side, and then I'm just going to go down both of the 8/0s here. Right here, I'm going to go between this 8/0 and this pearl, and I'm going to go underneath the thread that's right between them, holding them together, and I'm going to create a loop in my thread and go through it and tie a knot. And then I'm going to slide down into this pearl and this 8/0 here, and I'm going to go down this crystal. I'm going to pull it to the back and cut the thread. Okay, I left enough of a little tag on this to just melt it in, just like that. Now, be back off a little bit, clean up my seed bead explosion here. Now you can just adjust your flowers so that they lay out really pretty like this. I think that when they sent me this particular batch of beads, I think they sent me 2 color lots because some of them are a little bit different. Still looks pretty, but they do that to me every now and then because I order so many that sometimes I get 2 color lots. So that's what that looks like. I'm going to put this on. I'm going to get out of camera just for a second because I'm kind of klutzy with this, and I have to have it close to my body so that I can balance it. So give me just a second and I will pull this through. There we go. And this is what it looks like on the wrist. I think it's quite pretty. And I'll put the other one on too. Just keep in mind that this one is the one that I designed the piece with. My design piece is always a little, iffy because I'm working out my design. I do several different thread paths to try to find out the simplest way and so on and so forth. But this is what these 2 bracelets look like. And I think they're really pretty. I really like them. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. My phone is going wacky over there. So I am going to go see what it's doing. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you try to make one. And like I said, I have more of these, the pearls and the crystals on my website. And if you don't want to do a bunch of herringbone on the back like this, which it looks fine, it works really well. But if you want to do another square instead, then you can get 2 packages because they're in packs of 7 simply because they're left over from the treasure bag. So you can get 2 and then you can also make a pair of earrings or something to match. So that, my friends, is our project for the day, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.